Google isn't the best at making pixels, but they've been trying their best, I guess. For me, the Pixel line has always been the best, with some downsides, before they switched to the Pixel 6 and 7 design. The Pixel 5 is the last from Google for a few things, and today we will talk about it. Should you buy the Pixel 5 in 2023? Hello everyone, this is Matt from Real World Review, and yes, it is still November, but it's time for these reviews to start referring to 2023 because it's very likely that you're already watching this in 2023 or 2024. Either way, socials are above, so let's get started. Starting with the design. This is technically the last of this design, but the Pixel 5a does share this look. And of course, we're talking about this original Pixel design with the camera square from the Pixel 4. The back is not glass, technically being a plastic type resin with metal underneath. It's an annoying way for Google to say that it is metal, but has wireless charging. This is the same type of design that Apple does, allowing the back to be metal with a hole for wireless charging, and then they put plastic or glass over it. Either way, this wraps around the phone in a soft and slightly textured way, allowing for the center to have the fingerprint scanner and the G logo on the bottom. On the top, we get a lonely microphone, just like the lonely SIM card tray on the left side, and even more lonely if you use an eSIM. The right side is where the shiny power button and non-shiny volume rocker is, while the bottom is where another microphone and speaker is, technically being the only loudspeaker. There is also a USB-C 3.1 port on the bottom, allowing for 18 watts of fast charging, but the speaker is a weird one. When we look at the front of the phone, we get the screen and a hole punch for the camera. No earpiece. That's because, just like the Pixel 4 and 4 XL until the 7 and 7 Pro came out, this is the first and only Pixel device with an under-screen speaker. This vibrates and uses a screen as a speaker, which is kind of cool, feels weird when you're on phone calls, and doesn't really sound the best when you're listening to music and audio in general. Still, it's not the failure that the LG G8 was when LG tried this, but it's not as good as a normal dual speaker phone. If LG was a 5 out of 10 quality-wise, I would say that the Pixel 5's dual speakers gets a 7 out of 10, with the iPhone 13 Pro being a 9. With that said, this is the easiest way to notice a Pixel 5, the lack of the earpiece grill. Speaking of the screen, this is a flexible OLED panel, even though it is flat. It's a 6-inch 1080p 90Hz refresh rate display that gets plenty bright and actually looks pretty good. Gorilla Glass 6 does cover the front, but that can still break, obviously. Even though the screen is 6 inches, it does kind of make it a compact phone, and the weight of 151 grams helps with that. With the lack of an earpiece and headset jack, the phone retains the standard IP68 dust and water resistance that you would expect from a top-of-the-line Pixel device, at least at the release. I'm not really sure how well that water resistance is holding up after 2 years. This was also their first 5G phone, released with the 4A 5G, with the Verizon ones actually featuring a higher price point and 5G millimeter wave support. With that 18 watts of charging, the phone can actually do wireless charging, going up to technically 12 watts, though I wasn't really able to test that. What I can test is the reverse wireless charging, which actually works while the phone is plugged in and face down. Of course, you can toggle this on or off when it's off the charger, but it's still pretty cool to see it work while the phone is plugged in, something that most Samsungs can do, but sometimes struggle to do. Moving inside the phone, we find the confusion and disappointment. The phone is powered by the tried and true, but also aging Snapdragon 765G chip with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of UFS 2.1 storage. With that said, the phone works perfectly fine. For every task and even some heavy tasks, this phone leaves little to be desired. When gaming, it's fine, but lacking in graphic-intensive games, leaving some to not even allow you to play at max settings. This phone does warm up when you do that, so maybe that's the reason. The phone is now powered by Android 13, which will continue being updated until October 2023, at which time Google can choose to send updates if they like. The Pixel 5a goes to August 2024, which is strange because the phone has the same processor and even less RAM. Even the Pixel 4a 5G gets an extra month over the 5. But I guess that's what you have to settle with, just like the 4080 mAh battery that was put into this phone. Okay, the battery life isn't that bad, with 4 hours of screen on time easy to do on this thing, as well as all-day battery life. Not sure if 2 days is possible though. Then we get the little things, like the fingerprint scanner, and just Android software in general. The scanner is awesome, and I'm coming from back-to-back in-screen fingerprint scanners, so it's nice to go back to a phone that has a physical button every once in a while. The addition of Face Unlock would have been nice, but you can't have everything, I guess, unless you buy the Pixel 7 series. Also, something you notice is that the vibrating mechanism is actually pretty good. It works well, feels natural, and doesn't really leave you wanting more out of it, and doesn't feel cheap. Then of course the Pixel software gives you things like call screening and Google Assistant Pixel only stuff. Their version of the always on display, which always looks really nice, and the now playing music feature. All the stuff that makes a Pixel is in this Pixel. There's so many phones with the Snapdragon 765G chip, 5G, wireless charging, or water resistance, but why choose a Pixel device, and especially why the Pixel 5? Well, given that this phone is getting lower than $200 USD, why wouldn't you want to buy this phone? We get all the features that I've talked about, as well as the coveted Pixel camera set. The front one is okay, being an 8 megapixel sensor, but that's not the main focus, especially since it's a fixed focus lens. Instead, the rear is a 12.2 megapixel wide-angle sensor that's optically stabilized, which is sitting next to the 16 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and that's kind of a strange one if you had the Pixel 4. Of course, the cameras really speak for themselves, but there are some things to realize. There's no telephoto sensor, so zooming will often make the image look bad, and the ultra-wide camera, while being normal, doesn't focus. Not a huge deal, but people do like macro photography nowadays. The video can do 4K at 60 frames per second, which seems like a lot for the processor, and kind of is. The quality isn't the best, and like I said, the front camera is just there. But when you take normal shots or low frame rate video, this is where the camera shines. The design of the phone makes the camera feel very low key, and in a sense makes the phone kind of a sleeper. But really, a lot of the features can make this phone feel like it's nothing special, even though it is. The Pixel 5 was the end of a design, with the camera moving to the middle, not only on the front, but also on the back as well, destroying the rear fingerprint scanner in the process. The size and honestly everything else feels so right on this phone. With a launch price of $700, this was an overpriced mess and really should have started at $500. With that said, if you can find this phone under $250, this phone becomes a worthy contender. But if you want a larger phone with the same processor, just grab the LG Wing, cause why not? Also, the wallpaper that I chose is kind of a throwback to the Nexus 5, which is what this phone kind of reminds me of for some reason. Maybe because of the name. And that's my 2023 review of the Google Pixel 5, the last true Pixel. Honestly, the Pixel 6 should have started with a different name. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.